everybody. This is Dalton with the Honest Providers podcast, and today I'm here with Karli with the Healing Village.
Yeah, so my name's Karli Baldus. I am a licensed professional counselor and limited licensed psychologist. I also am trained in drama therapy, so I come with a lot of background. And as I was telling you earlier, I spent 16 years teaching at Muskegon High School in various areas, math, theater, broadcasting. So I also bring a lot of history into the space, trying to make sure I'm caring for individuals and really feeling passionate about how can we improve systems, that some of these systems just aren't set up to help everybody.
Absolutely. So what inspired you really to get into this journey? Obviously you have a background in it, but what was kind of that tipping point for you to say, this is what I want to do because there's a need for this, these systems are broken, etc.?
Yeah, so it basically happened around COVID time. I had been in a private practice and I had felt happy with how we were handling things. And then all the stuff shifted during COVID, where we had to go online and shut things down. And as we were beginning to navigate things, I was just noticing how difficult it was for clients to get in to even see me, and how many challenges there were in the systems. As I was sharing before, challenges like for some people, they don't want to call, they want to text. They would prefer to do that. And we don't have a whole lot of places that are set up with systems to be HIPAA compliant and be able to text. For other people, they might have a challenge with technology, and the only way to get a hold of anybody was through using technology. And so they didn't feel they could get any help. I was saying in our particular area, it's hard to find places that are always handicap accessible or visual, like good parking spots. And it would just become like so confusing and traumatizing just to even get in to get help. So I felt like that was missing, and I felt like that was something I could begin to create. And then also with the Healing Village, what I was explaining to you is that I was also seeing an issue when it came to the clinicians, that either they were choosing to work from home, which makes sense, but they were living in these silos and not really getting the support, the interaction that really helps fill us up and that we talk to our clients about needing. Or they were in practices where they just had to crank out their hours and they were getting burnt out and not getting support that way. So in designing the Healing Village, I really wanted to take that approach of that it takes a village, and that I would be checking in with my clinicians to see how you doing, what supports do you need, how are you processing everything, and finding that balance between, you gotta do some hours so that we can pay the bills, but also not so many hours that you're not able to really show up and give your best work.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big, burnout's a big deal, and that's not just a supervision, but the community, right? Having the people around you to help fill you up and to give you that level of emotional and physical connection. Those things are super important. And accessibility is a big thing. We see it all the time. I know you had mentioned earlier as well, you were talking about different communities need different, they require different services, right? And
right.
Sometimes it's just the ability to be able to communicate, whether it's in person, text, phone, HIPAA compliant solutions and systems, as well as, being able to reach different populations. I know y'all work with a lot of different populations and aspire to do that, correct?
Yeah. And, it's a work in progress because I can't force there to magically create a therapist that has these backgrounds or has these specialties. But what I'm trying to do is look for them as well as bring in resources. So we have brought in someone to really look around our space and make sure that we're LGBTQ plus friendly, that we're thinking about how to address those needs, and also being just really informed in the language and choices that we are using. And then looking at having someone come in to talk to us about the incarcerated population and what it's like for them when they begin to get out of jail, and how can we best support them. We're looking at having someone come from the tribal population to come talk to us and really better understand. We're never going to be able to walk in everybody's shoes, but just to even begin to think about, gee, what must it be like for this person who comes with this background from this system to be coming into the space, and where can we make some adjustments, and how can we better understand to support them?
Absolutely, yeah, because treatment, it looks different for each of those populations, especially, whether someone's been incarcerated in their own probation parole, coming through that situation, or whether they're coming from the tribal population or the LGBTQ population, or this, each one of those has its own challenges as well as its own requirements, right? Because you want to meet people where they're at to be able to serve them, like you said, basically in the best way possible. So in doing that, what makes your approach, your organization unique? Like, how do you create that long-lasting help through the services you offer at the Healing Village?
Well, I think there's many things. One is we're constantly checking in on how are we doing with our mission? How are we doing with our vision? Again, I meet weekly, not just with my clinicians, but support staff to say what's working, what's not working. How do you need more help in this area? And we're constantly evolving and growing. I'm bringing in another person to kind of support, so that we can fill in any kind of gaps, so that it's an ease of service, clarity of service. We're creating videos, we're creating different step-by-steps, looking at those things, just to, again, try to ease care, because we understand as when someone needs to ask for help, they're already kind of paralyzed and don't know where to start. And
right. It's already a big step in itself, right?
Right. And I totally understand going to AI support as a way to save money, but I appreciate that we are showing up with real humans who are going to touch base, who are going to call, who are going to check in, who are going to go, you know what? Like, I just want to follow through because it felt like something was off here. And to let them know, like, you are cared for as soon as you reach out. We got you. We're here. If there's questions, if there's struggles, contact us back. That's our goal. We're going to keep trying to work through it, just like in life.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things that we see as well, just through our systemization with, and just talking about like AI, right? It's one of those things that the tech stack in general it's been great to help us provide more efficient care and better coverage. But the one thing that it just simply doesn't do, especially that we focus on here, is that honest care, the honesty and the empathy simply cannot be replicated from as the human experience would be, right? It's it does a lot of things and can express thoughts in those manners, but it's just something about that honesty and empathy that comes from the human interaction, which is super important. And it helps people understand that they're not just another number, right? They're not, because as clinicians see patients, you see people day in and day out, and different people from different backgrounds. And over time, people, you can kind of look at someone and you kind of feel maybe you already know their situation, but everybody's situation's unique. And to them, even though they may be your 1,000th patient, it may be their first time, right? And treating them with that empathy, care, respect, and love, just to help understand and hear them out, and relate to them with that honesty and that empathy, is what's really going to be transformational in their care as well. So, but I totally agree with everything you've been saying so far. What do you see? There's a lot going on in the behavioral health industry in general. What do you think truly needs to improve from your perspective?
Oh boy.
It's a lot, I know.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll say this first. In looking at just where the world is going in general, and that human connection, that is what you're coming for when you come to therapy. That's part of what we are able to provide. Even things like when you come in to wait for the therapist, we have a human there who's going to greet you, who's going to check in with you, and kind of let you know, like, am I in the right place? Is this where I'm supposed to be? Yeah, you're here, and I see you. And I want to just acknowledge that part can be scary for people. They would rather sometimes, like, be in a room alone, don't talk to me, don't say anything.
Right.
And I'm consciously making that choice because that's what too many of us are doing, is we're avoiding that human connection. We're missing that just friendly face, like, oh, I get to see you every week and I get that smile, which makes such a difference in our mental health. So I know you're saying systems in general, but those little things are starting to be lost. Those little pieces that we take for granted just in life in general. What
It's
I'm
across
gonna,
the board. You're seeing
yeah,
it. You're seeing it at the grocery store. You're seeing it at the bank.
right.
Ordering food, ordering fast food. You see it.
Yeah, and I get we become so used to it that we're nervous to interact, but having that safety and having that interaction is really what I feel like we're just needing in general.
Right.
I think you asked about the overall system. There's
Well, just in general, anything that that you may see that could change. There's a lot of things we hear. A lot of times it's tied to the system. A lot of times it's tied to personal experience. It's just things that could be better ways to do things in general in the behavioral health industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting so tricky with insurances.
Yeah.
There's what was nice with COVID was there's a lot more freedom
Yeah.
and more accessibility, and we're starting to see that pull back,
Mhm.
which does make me very nervous about what's to come in January when people start over with their insurances and kind of
Yeah.
see what new deductibles and plans they actually have, and will they be able to afford it. So I know I am nervous about what's going to come there. And also there's talk about just really insurances being more looking at the notes and seeing, are we even going to cover this for this person?
Yeah,
Are they?
I just had a conversation the other day with another gentleman, and he had said that that's really what they advocate for, is because they've seen it so often, is insurance not wanting to cover. And we see it all the time too with all the practices that we manage, and it's the same scenario. It's a lot of doctors and a lot of insurance companies, they love to cover things that they can see, versus when you get into behavioral health, mental health, there's a lot of things that you may not see and may not fully understand. And it's putting pressure on the clinicians, on the facilities, to not only to document better, but to essentially prove that the services are needed. But even then, there's still a lot of coverage gaps where they simply don't want to cover it.
Right. Yeah. And so that's going to be a lot of our adjusting this year, is just being like paying attention to, okay, where are those gaps and what can we do as best we can to service those.
Definitely. So there's a lot of other families out there, a lot of providers out there, or maybe individual people who are considering therapy, who are or who have questions. And if you could leave some advice for anybody coming into this, whether it's a provider or a family member or patient, what advice would you give them from your perspective?
Coming into getting mental health services?
Sure.
Okay.
That's kind of
yeah. Well, I mean, I love that it's growing and changing to where it's much more acceptable. People are reaching out and considering reaching out. I guess what I would say that we don't talk enough about is that so much is based on your connection with the clinician you're reaching out to, and unfortunately sometimes there might be a bad fit the first time, and I'd hate for people to be discouraged if they have an experience that doesn't go so well. And in life we're going to have that kind of stuff, and it's hard to like come back and try again. And I get sad that it can happen, and that you might feel rejected and like, never mind, it's not worth it, it's pointless. But just like every human is different, every clinician is a little bit different. I'd suggest really looking into how have they been trained, like what are their specialties, do they feel aligned with me? Like I said, we create videos because a lot of times just in seeing the video you go, ooh, I feel like I can connect with them. We don't really know what that thing is. Sometimes I'll say to people, this is true, like I might remind you of an aunt you don't like, And so you're not going to be able to connect with me because all you can see is that ant. And so having just an awareness of sometimes there's just something that is not clicking. It doesn't mean you can't do therapy. It doesn't mean that this isn't possible. And I get it's frustrating that you might have to try again.
Definitely. We talk about this a lot as well. That exact conversation is, it's still, no matter what provider you choose, it's still a relationship, right? And not all relationships work out. And,
right.
You got to make sure that you're working with someone that you can relate to and that you essentially have that connection with, like you're saying. So I agree wholeheartedly, because a lot of people, they get discouraged, and also a lot of clinicians get discouraged as well when they feel they can't make that connection. But as a clinician or as a provider, it's really, I think we need to see a lot of providers do that as well, as start basically letting their clients know, like, hey, I don't know if I'm the best fit for you, but not because of you, but because you want, it's their care. We want to make sure they're taken care of. So patients need to be looking out for themselves and advocating for themselves, and clinicians need to support the advocacy of that patient, right? So
yes,
we have a platform, Honest Advocacy, and we do that. We talk about that a lot there as well, is that having that transparency and being willing to stand up and change providers, not in a bad way or an aggressive way, simply to get the help you need, because until you get the help you need, you're only going to be taking steps backwards. And as providers, and as for any patients, your goal should be to be moving forward, so right there with you. So looking back at your journey, you've obviously been down a lot of different roads, met with a lot of different people, seen a lot of different things. What would you say is something that you're most proud of in your career so far?
Oh boy. It's interesting because I feel like I've had so many different lives. I said I was a teacher, and so if someone approaches me as Mrs. Baldus, I know our background and where we had a connection. And then I am a clinician, and I have lots of things I'm really proud of. I do feel like creating the Healing Village is something I'm extremely proud of, and even though it's still kind of in its infancy, we're going on 2 years, watching it grow, we actually got rated the best behavioral health practice in our location in Muskegon, based on Google reviews and Google searches.
Yeah.
And I feel like it just goes to show that this is something that people are wanting and needing, that, that I'm happy to hear that they are feeling safe and finding that space to reach out. And that really warms my heart to know that we can provide that care.
And a lot of people would, anytime, and I think we're all self-conscious whenever we mention an award or something we've done good, it almost sounds like we're bragging about ourselves, but exactly what you just said is the point, is that it's showing that what you've done is changing lives. You're transforming lives. You're potentially even saving lives, right? You're giving people what they need, and in the they're just reciprocating that love to prove that what you're doing at the Healing Village is the right thing, and you're changing lives where you're at through what you're doing. So, and that's rewarding, right? And it should be. No one should be, that should be something you're proud of, because it's further validating everything you stand for. So we're proud of you for that too, because it just says a lot about what you're doing.
Thanks.
So you just mentioned your location. If people wanted to get in touch with you, connect with you, find you online, what information would you give them?
Yeah, so we have a Facebook page, The Healing Village. Our website is www.thehealingvillagemi.com. And they're welcome to check us out. We're actually doing new photos and videos tomorrow, so we should have some new stuff up in a week, with new things that we're going to be able to provide that I'm excited about.
Awesome. And all of your services are local? Do you do anything online?
Yeah, so we're located in Muskegon, Michigan. We are local, but also do telehealth and can provide anywhere in Michigan.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to be on this podcast, to share your story and to show the impact, and not only the impact you're having in the world, right? Not just you, your team, everyone, but also changing lives, because there needs to be more awareness brought to what's really going on in the world and some of the problems and some of the things that are going well. And I'm thankful that you came onto the show to share that story. So
thanks so much. I appreciate it.